Good morning and welcome to the Board of Medina County Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, April 27th, 2021. We'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our prayer for the morning. Heavenly Father, we beseech your divine guidance in this meeting. Keep us ever mindful of our obligations. Grant us, dear Lord, wisdom, tolerance, and courage, that we may well serve our county and fulfill our trust. Amen. Steve, could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Yeah, move to approve the minutes of April 20th.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion, questions, corrections? Roll call, please.
Hambley?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes. And we will move into our resolutions. First up, we have Andy Conrad, our highway engineer, and standing in is Dan Becker.
Morning.
Dan?
Happy 80-degree day, huh?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I've got four things for your consideration today. The first is the necessity to close Boston Road between Ridge and Salem Court. The second is the necessity to close Chippewa Road between Lake and Garmin. Third is the necessity to close State Road between Remsen and Ledge. And the last one is to close State Road also between Ledge and Bellis. So we're doing work. And I've got some permits also for you to look at.
All right. Move to approve the four resolutions.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hambley?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Next, we have Amy Lyon Galvin, our Assistant County Administrator. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning. I have 9 resolutions for your consideration this morning. The first one is amending the appropriation measure resolution. The second is amending the 2021 appropriations resolution by transferring appropriations. The third resolution is expenditure adjustments for various funds. The fourth is revenue adjustments for various funds. Fifth resolution is authorizing the cash transfer for the social service levy fund. Sixth is a cash transfer for various funds. The seventh is approving the submission of a program funding amendment for the fiscal year 21 felony delinquent care / reclaim grant. The eighth resolution is authorizing the purchase of 6,400 gallons of regular unleaded gasoline for the engineering center. That went to Cuyahoga Landmark at the bid price of $1.943 per gallon for regular unleaded gas. And then the ninth and final resolution is approving claims for the week in the amount of $1,409,100.57.
I move to approve the 9 resolutions.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hambley?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Next up, we have Holly Murin, our Human Resources Director.
Good morning. On our changes resolution today, we have a new hire in sanitary, 2 rate increases, 1 in maintenance, 1 at job and family services, 2 leave of absence, 1 in transit, 1 in sanitary, and 1 resignation in transit.
I move to approve.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hambley?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Next, we have Jeremy Cinco, our Sanitary Engineer.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning, Jeremy.
I have 1 resolution for your consideration today, amending the agreement with Jones & Henry Engineers for professional design services to upgrade the existing pumps at the Northern Pump Station in Sharon Township.
I move to approve.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Questions? Roll call, please.
Hambley?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
We will move on into our department updates. First, we have Shannon Ryan, our Transit Director. Good morning,
How are you?
Shannon.
Good morning.
I have 1 resolution for your consideration today. This is approving the submission of application for Ohio Department of Transportation 22 grant, preservation program grant. This is a little bit of an addition to their efforts to provide more preservation grant. This is how we're going to be able to apply for transportation grants for vehicles, all sorts of things. This is a general resolution they asked me to adopt, ODOT did. And what it's going to do is, we have a potential to buy our 5 vehicles we were talking about last week at 100% without the 80-20 match, which is exciting. They're working through the federal government to make up some of that funding. So this grant will allow, this resolution will allow us to apply for that grant.
Excellent.
I would move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? I have a question for you. So can we buy electric vehicles with these grants?
I'm glad you asked that question. There's been a lot of talk about electric vehicles. I think we all know that they're coming. When is the issue, and what infrastructure scheduling is in place for it. We've got an opportunity to buy some vehicles right now that'll be gas that we need to replace 5 with. So the next section of vehicles could possibly be electric. I spoke to a couple people in the industry. Our latest vendor, American Bus, provided me some great feedback about it. He mentioned that Ford could have the transit van, the taller vans that you see out there within the next year. The cutaways that we use could be 22 or 23, most likely 23. But there's some maintenance involved in it. The OEM from Ford, for instance, would have to provide all that maintenance because we don't have the maintenance expertise to do that currently. But it could be a possibility in 22. I think I really enjoy the talk about it. I think it's a ways off, but not that far around the corner to begin the discussion. Now, ODOT is offering some things. I looked ahead in the state contract that we bid for vehicles, and it wasn't on this year's, and it doesn't seem to be on next year's to buy an electric vehicle through the state contract. So that tells me that they're trying. I think that'll be the telltale to see if we want to move that direction. I've done some research on the infrastructure of it too, and it takes a little bit to put that together and fund it and produce the infrastructure to power the vehicles. The range of them aren't quite what you'd think they were yet. Heat has a little bit to do with reducing the distance they can travel before they have to be recharged. And I think that has something to do with their hesitant to put it on the state contract yet. I think it's going to happen. I really do. And I think it could be happening for us, but I think it's 23 before we think about it.
How many miles a day does our average bus travel?
About 180.
So
We have about a 14, our garage is on the south side, right? And we have to travel all the way to Brunswick. It's a 14-mile non-revenue trip there each way. I think that's the largest vehicle mileage that we have, that type of. So it's about 180 right now that we travel. We have a lot of demand service. We cover 422 square miles with 23 revenue vehicles. So we're really with about 75,000 trips a year. That's a lot of miles on a vehicle.
Well, that's more than I'll say that the peak mileage for the electric buses currently, correct?
It's about, they would have to be charged midday, most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely.
So, that technology is improving.
That battery, yep.
At this point, but I get, the question comes down is how early an adopter do we want to be? And there's a cost to that. I mean, I remember getting an iPad. I got iPad 2. I didn't get iPad 1. I'm glad I waited. So I think in some ways it's kind of and it sounds like the state of Ohio, ODOT's kind of also waiting to see if as you point out, it's just not the technology, but also the infrastructure of support that would have to be in place for us. If we're going to do that, we just make sure we've got everything in place to do that, correct?
We're definitely forward thinking towards it. There's a lot of alternative fueling. Lake Tran, which is not too far from here, I was on a webinar, and they're going to be the first ones to have electric vehicles in the area. So I know Ben Capel, I'll be up there looking at those and benchmarking what he's doing. He's excited. I think he's also cautiously optimistic on the infrastructure piece other than his garage, which he's getting that together. They have a lot of funding.
How big is their system?
It's probably about 30% bigger than ours, and it's growing though. And that's tough to say because they just got a new levy passed last year, and they are really working hard with Cleveland on new sign packages, trying to get people into Cleveland and connections there, which we're trying to do with Cleveland too. and also Akron. But
They've got a dedicated local funding source.
that's correct. A very large one. It just got approved, so they're definitely in a sweet spot there. I'll also say the vehicles. It's about $80,000 for the gas vehicles. It's $200,000 to $225,000 for.
Okay, yeah.
And like I was saying, we'd have to probably come up with that 20%. So that's a heavy lift. Not impossible. I love the alternative fueling. I've been around it, whether it's been natural gas or it's been electric, hybrid vehicles. I've been around that in Dayton. So, just our monthly report.
Let's do a roll call.
Yeah.
Hambley?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes. All right, go ahead, Shannon. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no. Good questions. I anticipated the questions. I think we're going to learn more, and I'll have more to share with about it. Our ridership from in March of 2021 was up in every area as opposed to March 2020. I'm excited to see the ridership come back. It means everything that we, have folks on our buses. Folks are feeling safe. We are, planning some new routing and coming up our next bid to connect with Medina City with Brunswick. And I'm also working on something that may actually help out a Brunswick connection with Fairlawn directly. Mm-hmm. So I'll be some more sharing there, trying to get folks in partnership with economic development in Medina and Brunswick. So there is a direct, without having to go to Medina City, you would go from Fairlawn to Brunswick directly. So I'm working on some very creative routing with my team and excited about the future of getting people to work and to different destinations around the county on a fixed route service. So cost-wise, budgetarily, we're doing well, maintaining our cost and monitoring the demand of the need out there. I talked to a customer this morning that really depends on us, and it really helps. You share those stories with your team to make sure they know what we're doing, because it means something to get people where they're going. It really does. So,
How's the e-fare going?
the validators are coming in. We're on the schedule for later on in May. That's really going to gain some popularity because I think people are going to see the validator, wonder what that is. We're up. We're tracking the Easy Fare. Last year we sold 40. In 2020 we had 41 this month. So it's starting to come back. We get a lot of questions about it, and I've done a lot of education around it. I think people need to get more comfortable with loading the app and how to use it. But the drivers are getting continuous education, and they're our best sale to the passengers. So technology is a part of our business growth plan, and the validators will help. Yeah.
Excellent.
Excellent. Good.
Okay.
Thank you, Shannon.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Debbie Kiley from Job and Family Services. There she is.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have 7 resolutions for your consideration this morning. The first one is authorizing the county auditor to transfer funds from the county general fund to the public assistance fund for the mandated share. The next is authorizing the county auditor to transfer funds from the JFS Children's Services 4E fund to the JFS Public Assistance Fund, and that's for our 4E administrative expenditures. The next is authorizing the county auditor to transfer funds from the JFS Children's Services SCPA, that's a State Child's Protection, from the JFS Public Assistance Fund for those administration expenditures. The next is an agreement for a website upgrade between Spire Advertising and Job and Family Services. And the next is the resolution authorizing contracts for substitute care of children for Job and Family Services that are in our care. The next is an amendment between the Medina County Job and Family Services and Summit and Medina Workforce Area Council of Governments. The next is for an agreement with the CCMEP TANF Summer Youth Program between JFS and Tri-County Jobs. And that happens every summer. That's all.
All right. Move to approve the 7 resolutions.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hambley?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Thank you. And then division updates for you all. The Public Assistance Division, if you hadn't heard, the marketplace is remaining open. That's where individuals can apply for private insurance. Obamacare is what it's often affectionately called. They've extended that through August 15th. It was only going to be through May 15th, but they've extended it through August. We've received, since they've extended it in February, we've received 300 applications just through the marketplace. That doesn't include any other types of applications that we've received. Compared between that time frame last year, February of 2020, until today, we received like 200. So the increase hasn't been greatly significant. The division remains on target for their authorization of SNAP cases. We are still at 100% of those cases being authorized timely. There's about 9,000 individuals that receive food stamp benefits in the county, about 430 that are on cash assistance, and Medicaid recipients continue to trend above 23,000 in the county. For Child Protective, our statistics, we now have 87 children in care. 21 of them are placed with relatives. There are 17 that are in congregate, your residential and treatment facilities. The balance are in non-relative foster homes, so that's about 49. The video for foster parent recruitment, that was a joint effort between Job and Family and Leadership Medina County. They have finished filming that, so then they are in the editing stages, so I am really excited to see how that's going to turn out. I think it's going to be pretty great.
Now, is that video intended mostly for social media, or going to also be doing the cable? And
Yes, they're going to reach out to different cable providers and local TVs, but definitely social media. And they've set it up where they've got it. I think that the entire video is going to be about 15 minutes long, but then they've done trailers too, so that we can maybe Instagram or Facebook or something like that and just do shorter videos that capture a quick attention.
Yeah, one of the things we've done here for when we go in executive session, and we're still in session, we have, I will call it filler, where we could be presenting stuff. So maybe working with Brian, we could include some of those trailers in while we're between sessions. That way the audience can actually see it that are watching the commissioners meeting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be, okay, so keep that
Sure.
in mind.
Absolutely.
I work with Brian Gallant.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that idea. It's a great idea.
Debbie, are you still in need of foster families?
Absolutely. We have,
How many do you need?
oh, do we need? Maybe not so much the number, but the type. There's a great need for foster care from a therapeutic level. There are some children that we have in residential care because they're not quite fit for a traditional foster home. They might have some mental health, maybe even some substance abuse issues that they need to work through, and they're not quite suited for a traditional home. But if that foster home can become a therapeutic provider, which is additional training, different kind of licensing, things like that, that's where the need is. We have about 24 children that are aged 0 to 2 years old in care. We have a lot of foster families for young children. It becomes quite difficult when they reach the teenage years, as well as those that are considered significantly abused. So it's more the type of foster home than necessarily the number. Because we can have a lot of people that want to take the 0 to 2 year olds and none in the other areas.
Right. Okay.
Also in the Child Protective, we're reinventing something called the Independent Living Program. It's in rule. It's mandated that Job and Family Services provides that. It's for children that if they're in care and they reach the age of 14, or if they enter care and they're already 14, 15 and up through age 21, that program is meant to provide post-Job and Family Services life skills, career counseling, academic achievements, things like that, helping those individuals that are about to leave care become an adult and become a good member of society and productive member of society. So what we're doing is we're doing a one worker approach. Right now, those 14-year-olds and up are spread out through the entire caseload, and it can be difficult for those workers to focus on those children as well as the balance of their caseload, the children that are under 14. So what we're doing is having a one worker model focus on those 14 and up year olds. Academic support, career preparation, and other life skills towards becoming an adult. And I thought of this as I was writing this, is that entering foster care is difficult, but so is leaving it. So we need to make sure that we provide for those children. And lastly, the Child Support Division collections remain on target for March of 2021. The division collected $2.7 million in support payments. They're also working and continuing to work with something called term marathons. As children are aging out of the child support payment system, they being child support has to go through and change each one of those orders to either close the order or remove some or all of the children. And then the total collections remain above the state standard of 90%. The division is sustaining 97% of current collection supports.
Excellent. Excellent.
Questions?
Very good. Questions?
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Good report, Debbie.
Thank you. Enjoy the day. It's going to be 80 degrees today.
Yeah. And next up, we have Stacy Malakar from the Medina County Board of Developmental Disabilities. Good morning, Stacy.
Good morning. A couple updates for you. We recently received CARF accreditation, which is a international accreditation, 3-year accreditation, which is the highest level of accreditation, and we were accredited in community employment for supports, development, and planning of jobs. What this accreditation allows us to do, among many things, is to access funds through the opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities. So we're able to draw down funds for services provided. The other thing I'd like to share with you is that April is Autism Acceptance Month, and there's been a shift. We've called it awareness, and there's been a shift because awareness kind of signals that, there's something that needs to be fixed or solved, and that's not what we want to get out to the public. We want people to be accepted for who they are in the community. So that's the month of April. The other thing that we are working with, we're partnering with other local agencies for mental health and suicide prevention awareness, trying to get information and supports out there for people that we serve, that these issues affect them also, and how can we support them and find solutions for them. And the final thing I would like to share with you is we recently provided about $275,000 of supplemental payment to our local providers. And this was in conjunction with Medicaid, federal Medicaid dollars. So we not only provided local funds, these local funds, but we've also drawn down federal funds. And it's to all the providers that have provided either residential services, day support services, or transportation. And they created a formula based on how many people they were serving during a period of time and increased the rates. So again, much needed funds, during COVID time to help providers survive this difficult period.
Were those funds provided by the federal government due to COVID?
Yes, as a result of COVID. So yes, so it's been very helpful. And this is the second time that we've been able to do this, that it's been approved by Medicaid, because everything obviously has to filter through Medicaid. So we're very pleased to be able to do that. Much needed.
So Stacy, is the transition complete of divesting the board of all the direct services, or is that still continuing?
We are just about there. The only area that we are still providing services is in the area of community employment. And so, as you know, we're entering into our next strategic plan, and so we're looking at how we will transition out of community employment, but more importantly, how will we support private providers to actually provide those services, and where can we fill the gaps that are difficult pieces of that service for them to provide. So our next 3-year plan. And per Medicaid rule, by 2024, all county boards have to be out of providing Medicaid services. So we're on target.
I thought it was 2021, but okay.
2024 is the final for Medicaid services,
Okay.
to bill for Medicaid. So we took that big step last year and the year before, and it went very well. It went very well.
So how many clients do you have involved in the employment program?
Right now, we just had a board meeting last night, we have 132 individuals that we are currently following that are employed, and I don't know how many more we're working with that are looking for jobs. So there's several hundred that we're working with to keep jobs, train on jobs, and to find jobs.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
All right,
Jason.
thank
Have a
you.
good day.
You too.
Enjoy the weather.
Thanks.
Next, we have Carol Lawler from our Board of Elections. Got a big election coming up here in another week.
Morning.
Good morning, Carol.
I'm going to focus on that election. It's only 7 days away. The May 4th, it's a special election, and we started actually back in February 3rd. It was the filing deadline when anybody, candidates and issues needed to be filed. Though all the candidates moved right on to the November election, there was no contested races. We do have 9 issues. And actually, not everyone in Medina County has an issue to vote on. The issues are in Medina City, Wadsworth City, the townships of Brunswick Hills, Homer Township, and Montville and York Township. 2 school systems also have an issue, the Brunswick City School District and the Highland Local School District. So since February, we've been working on the election. We've trained our poll workers. And actually, this is the first election our board has taken advantage of that cost-saving reduction of poll workers. Being a smaller election and that we have electronic poll books in use, our board voted per the statute that we could reduce the number of poll workers. So we are only using about 56% of the full complement of poll workers. If we had a full countywide election, fully staffed, we're only using 56%. So that should be a cost saving that we're finally able to take advantage of. Voting really began March 19th with the UOCAVA, the military and overseas voters. They get extra time because it takes more time for their ballots to go back and forth between us and them. And as we do for every election, we've tested everything. All our voting machines, or the first we test the ones that we use for early voting, that we're voting right now with at the Board of Elections. We test all the electronic poll books and then the election day voting machines. Last week we had the public test of the tabulation system. So everything passed wonderfully, so we're all ready for election day. Actually, April 5th was the 30 days before the election, and that was a registration deadline. So if you needed to register, people needed to register, change their address or name by that day. But if you're still registered in Ohio, you could still have a chance to vote a provisional ballot that we'll take your new information in, and then your ballot will be considered for the final count. So there's still a chance. If you didn't have a chance to change your address or name, as long as you were registered, give it a try to vote provisionally. So then right the day after that registration day, we started early voting in the office for everyone else. The first 3 weeks of voting, we were open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and now we're in the 4th week, so now we're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 7. We're also open this weekend. Saturday, 8 to 4, Sunday, 1 to 5, and then Monday, May 3rd, the day right before the election, you can still come and vote from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday, May 3rd, but then that's it for early voting. After that, you'll need to go on election day to your polling location. We also voted the nursing home people. We had staff go there. If nursing home residents requested absentee ballots, we had people go to them and vote them. There were actually 125 requests from the nursing homes in the county. Right now, we've had mail ballot requests, 672 of those. And in person, we've had 1,081 voters, where last November we were having daily greater than that number. And this is total up till today. Let's see. Election day then is May 4th, Tuesday, May 4th, a week away. The polls open 6:30 a.m. until 7:30 p.m. We are following the Secretary of State health guidance that has been issued for this election. Masks and gloves will be in use and available. Social distancing, sanitizing processes also will be in place. And one newer thing, just so you know, ballots, we do have that drop box outside the entrance to the Board of Elections. It is available 24/7. It's video monitored. So if anybody has those mail-in ballots that they need to return on, if they don't want to come in or if they just have different hours that they're available, use that drop box. We check that multiple times a day, and it is secure. So I think if anybody has any questions.
So Carol, we have 117 or 120 precincts?
121.
121.
121 precincts.
And there's 89 in this election. We almost have a countywide.
Right. That was where I was headed, yeah.
Half of the state has no election.
So out of those 9 issues, you have to staff 89 locations.
89 precincts.
Precincts,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, right.
So, okay. Very good.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Sure.
Commissioners have one resolution. It is a resolution proclaiming April 27th, 2021 as First Responders Day. And this is to recognize all of our police, fire, emergency medical, law enforcement, et cetera, throughout the county for all that they do to keep us safe.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hambley?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes. Thank you. And could I have a motion to go into executive session following our discussion session to consider public employment and pending litigation?
Yeah, move to go into executive session to consider employment of public employee and pending litigation.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Hambley?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes. And we will move into our discussion session. Steve, you want to start off?
Oh, actually, nothing. I think Scott's going to bring up one of the issues, and I'll just
Okay.
chime in, too.
Why don't we go to Scott then?
Thank you. I've got have a couple things I want to discuss. The first thing is what Steve's referring to is the use of the theater. I know that Medina Showbiz has been wanting to start productions and in the theater, and up to now we've had it closed. There is a group that is desperately wanting to get in there at the end of May. And they have, basically, the governor has provided guidelines to be followed. The group has indicated that they will be following those guidelines. So I would like to let Medina Showbiz know that they are able to start those productions in the theater.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I think it's time we start reopening things
Oh, exactly.
as much as we can.
I know, particularly, they're looking at dates of the 27th, 28th, and 29th of May, that one group. But this would open them up, allow for other to be scheduled starting in June and July elsewhere. They'll be able to follow all the guidelines the governor's stipulated, as well as any guidance from our local health department, correct?
Correct.
In terms of that, and I guess, I've been assured that, for some of this, the initial one is like about 130 people. Largely, it's going to be parents, spaced out in family clusters and a few public, and I think that that's a good start for it. But certainly, they'll take care of all the guidelines. It just makes sense to start to open it up. Yeah,
I agree.
Okay. All right, I will let them know. The other thing is I received a request to lease some property for drilling. This property that we own, it's down on Friendsville, and it's low. It's just nothing that we can use. So I know that oil leases have changed drastically over the last 10 years. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to possibly send that lease out to a firm that specializes in oil leases, just to have them take a look at it. Because it was just a standard lease where we get some free gas and If it's gas, if it's oil, we get, a small percentage of the royalties. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to go ahead and pursue that.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, Scott.
Sure, have a review.
It's not something that our prosecutor's office is well-versed in, so
Correct.
having the expertise, I think, is important.
Yeah. And I did talk to the prosecutor's office briefly. They do want to be involved, and they did check. We did not have to bid that out.
Okay.
So,
That's my question.
yeah, we didn't have to bid that out. The other thing is, I know that I think you actually had this on your discussion to talk about the equity subcommittee membership with NOACA. I know that I was approached to discuss. We currently pay NOACA somewhere between $70,000 and $80,000 a year for membership dues, and I know that based on Grace Galushi's presentation and the responses that we received from NOACA, they're really not listening to Medina County. I know that we have quite a relationship with Summit County, and I know that we've got the 18 corridor that is, quickly growing. And so the question was whether or not we might want to start the investigation into moving to AMATS, which is Summit and Portage County, and just a portion of Wayne County. So my question to commissioners is, would you like me to gather information, maybe start that process, see what the process is? I think Commissioner Hambley received information from the prosecutor's office years ago on what the process is to move from NOACA to AMETS. So can I go ahead and, I guess, gather information and put together a memo and get it to you as to what that process is, and I guess maybe talk to AMATS and see kind of what their feelings are, if they're warm to the opportunity or not.
Yeah, I guess I would like to have the opportunity to talk to Grace and inform her that we're going to explore this as an option before we move too far ahead. But
I do want to point out.
I don't know and you probably do, Steve, the ins and outs of actually making such a change, but there are a lot of implications, I think, that we need to really evaluate. I want
to point out, this is not about the equity subcommittee.
Correct.
Right, okay, I know, you kind of introduced it.
We're talking about,
No, this really is about the larger long-range transportation plan, the identification of subsequent policies based upon that. There really continues an imbalance in terms of not only the distribution of funds, but likewise future planning. I think many people saw the Cleveland.com last week indicate very clearly that it comes down to it. There's no expectation or possibility until the whole region grows in terms of population that we'll ever get an interchange in Medina County, even if we can afford it. Even if it's deserved and it meets the transportation requirements and benefits the highway transportation system, which is the process that the federal government looks at when you verify that you need an interchange. Even if we met all that criteria, they have created, I think, false criteria that essentially preclude us from being able to have those advancements. And I think we have to take this step forward. I would caution that this is more than just about transportation. NOACA provides also air and water quality. We have our 208 water quality plan, facility planning areas that the county was involved with. And I think that's some of the stuff, the information I provided to you already involved looking at those memorandums and of that. AMATS does transportation. They don't do air and water quality. We would have to find another group, which I think NEFCO, which is the group, an organization that would be involved with the water quality portion, and which is fine. I mean, that's
where are they out of?
I have Summit County.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Summit County.
There's some Akron Air Quality.
And Akron Air Quality.
Right.
So we'd have to make sure there is an air quality component in any transportation plan. You have to have that validated, and so that provision could be done by memo with another organization. If we're going to disassociate, and that was the complication when we examined it back in the 90s and then over the interchange of I-90, this disagreement. So it's a bit more complicated than just moving your transportation planning. It also involves the water quality planning, having EPA and the governor sign off on it, as well as the air and water quality portions of it. But I think I fully agree that we ought to be examining this, take a look at it. Frankly, I am disappointed that they indeed are not listening and have developed, I think, a false criteria for determining the distribution of federal funds for highway purposes. There's no doubt.
The scenarios that they're presenting for their June deadline are very Cuyahoga County centric, and we do pay a lot of dues. It is an organization that's supposed to be to the benefit for more than one county. Understanding that Cuyahoga County is the largest, but we still are a significant contributor. And I also think our other cog that we do have with Summit County, we do work very well with Summit County on our workforce cog, and I'd like to explore it.
And they have no such policy provisions and so forth. They don't put these kind of ties. AMS does not do this. They operate totally different. And just most recently, you've got in the interchange improvements, Andy Conrad was the meeting, I think it was the planning and programming one, and NOACA was attending. Essentially, they're going to extort money from Brecksville for an improvement of Miller Road interchange on I-77 because Sherwin-Williams is moving into the old Brecksville property. And they're essentially, quote, encouraging, but they're essentially saying they're not going to vote to improve this interchange that needs to be done for that location until they basically pay off Cuyahoga County community tax base sharing, enforcing that. And unfortunately, Grace referenced Nagel Road interchange, which is the I-90, that goes back, and the record clearly showed that was an extortion. We paid $80,000 in NOACA to do a study that demonstrated that it had no significant negative impact on Cuyahoga County. They rejected the study, and this was NOACA paid for the study, rejected it, and this is when we remember the 2008, the corrupt Board of Commissioners of Cuyahoga County that basically became indicted and so forth. They're the ones in Cleveland extorted that money and said, we're going to, in a sense, force a tax-based sharing or we won't vote for that interchange. We protested at the time. That's when we last looked at, and they eliminated the weighted vote as a consequence, but that's the last time we evaluated of leaving them because they did that. And Grace made the comment that this Miller Road interchange, there's a precedent already been set, Nagel Road interchange. And in fact, it was a bad precedent. It was one we set. That is not something we should follow. We shouldn't be extorting money from one community for another just because they need a better and improved interchange.
And you know, Route 18 runs through the center of our county,
Indeed.
and there is now significant development heading that way in connection with Summit County.
Sure.
Including a new Menards.
And new Menards. I mean, that is to the heart of our county, and maybe we do need to start looking in a different direction.
What's interesting, there was that original study that was done back in the 90s whenever the county invested in the sewers and for that corridor. Bruce Freeman, who was the planning director back then, chaired it very clearly. All the studies were done to make sure that corridor was planned as that connection between the two interstates. And the county commissioners, when that was developed, we put in, I can't remember, $600,000 in helping. We had to pay half the cost of the right-of-way for that improvement to get that accomplished. So the county has a lot of money.
You're talking about the widening?
Route 18. Yes, we did.
Yes,
We did. We did that. We paid that out of our general funds for that purpose because that is the future corridor development.
Yep.
And I totally agree.
And the dominoes that will fall because of Menards.
And the communities, both Sharon and Granger and Montville and Medina, were involved in that planning. The zoning was set up accordingly. Everything was planned for that development. It is somewhat, I'll just say because business cycles didn't occur all at once, but it is all in accordance with the plan of connecting, and I absolutely agree.
I mean, an organization like Menards could bring other, restaurants, other types of shopping opportunities, and the connection is significant with Summit County.
And the sewer and water capacity is there. The infrastructure there was, the highway investment was put there, and indeed, I think that just firms up our connection more with Akron, with, I'll say, Summit County, and with that region than with NOAC.
Let's do it.
Okay.
There you have it.
Okay. I will get information and I'll start pursuing that. And Commissioner Hudson, you're going to go ahead and talk to Grace and let her know that we're investigating this?
Yes, yeah. I'll
Okay.
inform Grace.
All right. Thank you.
Scott, did you want to talk about the sheriff's office, the shooting range at all?
We can. So I went out with Sheriff Grice and with Andy Conrad to the property there behind the county home. We have 80 some acres there. I got a list of all the properties owned by the county. And on that list, there are 3 properties that I would think are large enough that we could actually build a range on that property. One of them is at the Chippewa wastewater treatment plant, but there's a lot of work that would have to be done with taking trees down and parking, and it'd be expensive. And then the property that this company wants to drill on, but it's low, it's wet, and you'd have to do a lot of construction there also, a lot of trees and access. The access isn't very good off of Friendsville. And the other piece of property that's large enough would be the county home property. And if you go behind, we've got several buildings there. If you go behind the engineering center, there's a place where the highway engineer puts his grindings and different, broken concrete and dirt that they've taken out of ditches when they do like culverts and different clean out ditches. So, and it goes back pretty far into a wooded area. But there's a lot of space back there. So we went back there, we looked at that property. There's parking available there. It would just be a matter of actually constructing the mound and the range itself, and then maintaining it. I know that Sheriff Miller had worked with, was working with the Park District to try and locate it in the northwestern part of the county, but the township wasn't very receptive to the idea of having a range. I believe Commissioner Hudson has talked to Lafayette Township, and they are okay with that. So I guess we would like to, possibly move forward with that. Sheriff Miller, I believe, was going to cover the cost of building the range out of the CCW fund, using those monies. So I don't believe that any costs will come from the general fund. If it is, I think it'll be minor. But I'll have to check with Terry on that and make sure that that's still his plan, because I think that, again, that was Sheriff Miller's plan. So, Commissioner.
Is he going to explore, now, the state has put a considerable more money into training. And I presume that would also include maybe facilities for, when it comes to weapons as well. So potentially we might not be looking to see if we can acquire some state funding for it while they're in the mood of supporting law enforcement.
Yes, that's actually a good idea. Okay. I can check with Terry on that and see if that's something that he's going to look into.
Even if they had another kind of component to it that would, in terms of training of the appropriate use of force issues that we know law enforcement is coming across.
And it seems like the CCW fund is a perfect fit for something like this.
Agreed.
Right.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So, I guess with that said, if it's okay with you, I'll go ahead and check with Terry on the training grants that the state's looking to provide, and then we can also start looking for, I guess, designers of the range. Just confirm with Terry what the budget is and financially what he can afford, and then just move forward with the project if it's okay with the board for me to let me do that.
Yeah, I would like, Andy sent an email expressing some of his reservations, Andy Conrad, the highway engineer. But like Scott, when he first started off, indicated that he looked at all the properties that the county owns around the county and really narrowed it down to 3 properties. And Scott, Sheriff Price and I went out and looked at all 3 properties, walked them, and really from our perspective, the land behind the highway engineer, which is actually part of the county home, is the best location for this.
Have you discussed with the Lafayette Township
Yes.
officials about this as well?
I talked to Trustee Bowers,
Okay, all right.
and she seemed to be okay with it.
Okay.
They don't really have any regulations on shooting in
Sure,
the township,
but,
so
yeah.
and it is a county facility, so we can locate it in wherever we want to locate it.
Sure, well, obviously, the
township.
sensitivity
But
to the
yes.
residents.
Yeah, and that was another thing, when at the Friendsville Road location, there were not really any houses nearby.
Right, okay.
But access to it was problematic.
Right.
And the Lake Road property, which is by the sewer plant, was a decent location, but there are residences kind of around it that are not that far away, and it could be problematic. This location, the residences that are in the area are a considerable distance away. It is down in a low area. There are a lot of spoils that the highway engineer has stacked up in that area that can be used for embankments and to kind of shelter any kind of a range. So I think it's a good location.
There's good access in and out of that property too.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Existing.
And that's one of
Existing
one of Andy's
access.
concerns is that, the possibility that people could come in and out of the facility. They kind of monitor who goes back there.
Sure, yeah.
And they look at it as a potential distraction for them, potential safety issue, because they do have their loaders and equipment back there doing
But isn't all
things.
that fenced in?
No, it can be though, and I think maybe part of the solution would be to build a gate at the end of the highway engineer's road that goes into the spoils
Sure.
area to control traffic. So that would be one option that I think we should explore.
Is there any other access points, or is that the only one?
That's the only
It's
access.
only
That's the
one.
access point?
Yeah, other than that, it's just farm fields going back
Got it.
over to the west behind the actual county home itself.
Yeah. Park District owns some property
On the other side.
on the other
Behind.
side of it?
On the other
Okay.
side of it,
Okay.
yeah.
Got it.
So I understand and we acknowledge Andy's concerns and the fact that he doesn't want to be, really a part of it, but I do think that is the best location. So I'm good with moving forward.
Okay. All right, we'll get that going too. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Colleen, do you have anything?
Nothing more?
I did want to bring up something if I could.
Sure.
Yeah, last week, and I know people did notice I was distanced. I was over in Columbus, and explained that may happen again. I was appointed to a statewide a joint committee on force accounts. Force accounts are whenever local governments, the township or the county, utilize its own equipment and personnel to do road repair, culverts, ditches, those kind of things, rather than bid them out. And the levels of that are determined by engineering estimates and a dollar amount that is fixed by law in 2003. 2003 was the last time. And the limit hasn't increased, but the cost of doing projects has. And what happens is that you have a number of projects that come up, and that could be done by our local people, but they have to then be bundled together, and you have to do bid specs and prevailing wages and all this other kind of thing, and go out for bid, and they're a bit more expensive than having as well. It takes a long time to get a project done. So the townships and obviously the counties association have been pushing for this, like I said, since 2003, to at least keep up with inflation. And this is a committee I was appointed to represent the Commissioners Association. I was appointed by the House Speaker as well as the President of the Senate. We are going to be meeting weekly. This week is on Thursday. We can't control the schedule, or I can't control the schedule. So next week I may be coming from Columbus again. The next couple of weeks. This is a short term. They want to have a report by May 15th, and that is the chairs. There's 6 legislators on it, and then representatives from the Township Association, the Municipal Association, also contractors and so forth, are also voting members of that. And the report is due May 15th. That's the intention of the chairs, to have that. But over the next several weeks, I may or may not be local. And I just wanted to explain that this just wasn't down in Columbus and for just a regular meeting. This is one that's, like I said, very special, and because the provisions of this report, the hope is to include that in the operating budget that gets passed by the end of the year. So hopefully, a fiscal year by July 1, with the recommendations of this committee, would expand the authority of our local governments to literally save money. And we're talking about considerable amount of money, tens of thousands of dollars for a small township, hundreds of thousands of dollars for a larger larger public operations. So I think that this obviously is important to be involved with. We're starting to get our testimony, will be Thursday, but I just wanted to let the public know I'm just not camping out in the State House and just meeting with old friends in the legislature. So, but I do appreciate you all accommodating and making sure we got away. And thank God that there was a change in state law that allows public bodies to do this type of hybrid.
Let's hope they continue it.
And that is, I think, one of the reasons for me bringing up that it does need to continue, because even absent COVID and the ability to be able to do large meetings, if we have circumstances where one of us has to be for public purposes at another meeting, we could never do that before. Now we would be able to do that and still conduct business. And that is, I think, an awesome opportunity for us to be able to have all three of us involved and boards to be totally involved in decision-making, because sometimes you need to be other places just because of doing public business. And hopefully this is one of those things. They've granted the ability to go to, at least in the House version of the budget, to be able to do this to the end of this year, but there is a bill pending in the House that we probably will be, obviously we'll be sending letters of support, as well as CCO and many others, to continue this and have this ability to do this kind of hybrid meeting where we essentially can be at two places at the same time.
Right. And we're fortunate to have the technology to be
Amen.
able to do it. And we're also very fortunate to have the city of Medina assist us in doing it. So
Indeed.
thank you again, Matt and Jared, for your assistance in the city of Medina for doing this. Colleen, do you have?
You said you were going to bring up our North Royalton email?
I am. I will.
Okay.
Anything? Okay. And I'll get to you in a second round about the Western Reserve. So we received an email from a resident of North Royalton wanting to know if we would be willing to accept the attachment of the city of North Royalton to Medina County. They want to, as they used in here, the word secede from Cuyahoga County. I just wanted to let you both know that I emailed him back and said there are certainly a lot of implications that are involved in this. And if he would like to have the mayor of North Royalton contact me, I would be happy to discuss it with him and go from there.
I did send you an email. I went history professor on you guys. I don't know if you saw, where I showed the original. Medina County was actually rectangular, and the number of counties was considerably more, and showed the transition all the way up until 1840 of the size and the composition. I sent to Ron, the rest of you, to take a look at it. The last time county boundaries were changed in that fashion, as he's suggesting, was 1888. So, and we have no historic connection whatsoever to North Royalton. We really don't.
Provide them with some sewer services.
Well, no, but I'm saying, well, other than the sewer, well.
I'm talking about geography.
I'm talking about, we have no cultural, no historical linkage. There was never ever part. We have probably more of a claim to get for Bath Township, which wouldn't be a bad one to get, than we would with North Royalton, because we had that whole string of actually from Richfield down to Bath, down to Copley, down to Norton, originally part of the original, until 1840 when Summit County was formed. But if you look at the history, we really have no other connections to North Royalton. I mean, providing sewer to a small portion of it, but that's about topography more than it is about any kind of link. So I would say that obviously very resistant to even waste anybody's time.
It's a significant undertaking, and it would involve a school system too. It's significant.
Well,
becoming a Medina County school, there'd be a lot.
It might. Well, yeah. There you go. But
there are a whole lot of things.
Yes.
Yeah, 1888, like I said, was the last major change to county boundaries like that. So it's unlikely to occur, and I see little reason to even entertain the notion. Frankly, maybe they're unhappy with NOACA too.
Well, I just wanted to let you know that I did email them back.
Okay, thank you.
So, speaking of NOACA, there is an equity subcommittee that has been established by NOACA, and we need to appoint a member to represent Medina County on that subcommittee. I would nominate Kathy Brighton-Butcher.
Yes.
She has indicated an interest in doing it. I think she'd do a nice job.
Yes.
So if you're okay with it,
Absolutely.
Rhonda, maybe we could have a resolution at the meeting next week to take care of that appointment.
That'd be great. I'm very thankful she's willing to volunteer.
Yes, indeed. And then, Rhonda, you want to talk about the Western Reserve area?
You want me to do it?
Sure.
Okay, the commissioners are required to appoint members to the Western Reserve Area Agency on Aging Board of Trustees, and we have one vacancy. This board is responsible for planning, coordination, and administration of state and federal funded programs and services for older adults. So we are seeking a representative for the commissioners. The term is 3 years. This board meets on the third Tuesday of every other month. The meetings are held in Cleveland, however, they're virtual at this time due to COVID. So applications can be obtained on our website or by emailing me,
Yes.
and I can send it out.
And we're actively looking for someone to fill this role.
Yeah,
And it is important that we have somebody that actively is involved.
absolutely.
So,
Okay.
if any member of the public is interested, please contact us, Rhonda, in particular.
You don't have to be a senior to
Correct.
represent and be on that board, but they focus obviously involving federal and state funds for senior, obviously.
Senior programs.
Senior
Yes.
programs, so.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rhonda. Anything else, anybody? Jeremy?
I got one thing for you. One of our employees received a letter from Republic Services stating that the Medina County was increasing our disposal fee at the solid waste district by $5 per ton, effective April 1st. I called they had a customer service number to call, called it, got transferred to 3 people, ended up at someone, left them a message, so I'm still waiting to hear back. But I just wanted to clarify that we did not increase our rate $5 per ton effective April 1st. We did institute a generation fee on April 1st, which basically, with flow control, all the waste has to come to the solid waste district. We waive certain waste from industry that we necessarily don't want to hit the transfer floor, maybe like sooty material or macaroni salad, for instance. You don't want that on the transfer floor. So we'll provide a waiver. The waived waste typically will go straight to a landfill outside the county. So this generation fee allows us to start collecting $5 from those landfills to be paid back to the district, since we do have flow control. So that was what was instituted. In the letter here, it says that they will be increasing all Medina customer disposal fees accordingly. So I'm trying to work with Republic to educate them on the actual increase. So we'll see where that goes, but just wanted to make everyone aware.
So the provision that you're talking about would affect mostly commercial, would be almost
Yeah.
exclusively commercial industrial,
Correct.
correct? And this went to a residential?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Yep. Came went right to his house. So. But I'll keep you updated on that. But like I said, I have reached out to him, so just waiting to make contact. So.
All right, very good.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks.
All right, I think we're ready to go into executive session.
Yes.
For those of you that will be watching via TV, you'll see we'll have a presentation for you while we're in executive session. I would warn you that this executive session is likely to be rather lengthy. We have a number of topics to discuss. All right, it's 11:33. We are out of executive session.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Hambley?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes. Thank you. Have a great
Excellent,
week.
thank you.